A symphony of flavors, a voice's true taste. As Dr. Howerton was doing my psychological checkup, a taste of mint lingered on my tongue. Since I was young, I remember people by their voices. How the voice tasted, exactly. I had no answer as to why your voice had to be orange-flavored or cinnamon. Nevertheless, they were all pleasant ones. Coincidentally, everyone in my house was coffee. I was espresso. Mom was latte. Lily was Arabica. Sadly, the only way I got to hear them was through videos. I was a baby when my father murdered them. The only thing I remembered was the taste of rotten flesh from the voice of the killer. The voice I disdained. I never saw his face. Layla, your research of him. It's becoming an obsession. The mint intensified. The public believed Dad was dead. Disagreed, I swear he was out there, ready to strike again, soon. Because last week, the rotten taste came back. It gave me goosebumps. I was at a town festival. His voice was hidden somewhere in the crowd. Every night, I sneaked into an abandoned house on Cedar Street, the killer's favorite spot, my hands gripped tight on a bat. And today, I caught something in the corner of my eye. A tall figure with a large hat. Shit. Did he notice me? I slid through a broken door. Peeked out. He was huge. I wasn't so sure even my pepper spray would do anything. I could hear a muffled voice from the second floor. Raisins. Mrs. Reynolds from the pharmacy. I could get to her first. The front door creaked. I sprinted up to her room. Mrs. Reynolds, I'm here to save. I was stunned. Mrs. Reynolds was there, tied, but wasn't alone. A masked man with a machete. Tears were brimming in my eyes. The taste of his laugh made me want to cut off my tongue. I heard steps also coming up from downstairs. The machete man tramped towards me. Each person from both sides. I swung my bat with all my strength. He grabbed my arms. I yelled, sprayed his eyes and was released from his grip. He screeched and rubbed his face under the mask. A voice changer fell down. Why you? Little brat. His real voice was not a rotten flesh, but a fresh mint. Floored, the psychotic psychologist launched himself to slice my throat. My eyes shut. Then, bang. I was deafened. The killer was shot. The hatted figure came in. He was a middle-aged cop. I assumed he meant, are you okay? The killer was lurking so close all this time. I got it all wrong. Mrs. Reynolds was escorted to the police car. My ears were still ringing, so we communicated with papers. Apparently, his family was killed, too. Poor man. He just moved back here. He mumbled something. I saw tears and fists clenched. As my ears cleared up, I began to make out his words, if I was more brave back then. My eyes widened, and I stood still, because when I heard his voice, it was Americano.
Gary. Gary was always angry. Never physically violent, he was too smart for that and he had too much to lose. And he lacked any modicum of talent and charisma to channel his rage into a gig as a stand-up comedian or TV personality. But he emitted a constant stream of bile at everyone. All the time. Right now it was directed at the mother of the kid who was on a playdate with his kid, Henry, at his place. The mother was late picking up her kid. It was supper time. Gary's wife tried to mollify him. We can have supper now, she said, laying a hand on his shoulder. Henry's friend can eat with us. And have her interrupt our supper. And that brat is probably allergic to something, he looks like one of those types. Then they'll sue us. That will be fun. The bell rang. Gary was spoiling for a fight and he raced down the hallway. I'll get it. It was the mother. She looked stressed but smiled politely at Gary. "I'm so sorry I'm late, traffic, you know." Gary smiled back, "And I suppose you didn't realize it's rush hour." "We've been waiting." The woman kept smiling. "Well, I'm here now. Would you mind calling my son?" But Gary wasn't done. "How would you feel if your students arrived late in class?" Smile. For she was a professor at a local college, and that bothered him. The mother laughed. "I didn't realize this playdate was a classroom. And you must be wanting supper. Can you call him, please? Or I could go get him." Gary didn't reply, but blocked the doorway with his arm. The woman craned her neck and called out her son's name. There was no response. The mother looked straight at Gary. She said softly, "Get my son. Now." Gary smiled. "I just want to see how you like waiting. It's only fair." The mother reached out and lightly put her hand on Gary's chest. "Hey," cried Gary, "take your hand off." He didn't finish. She made a sharp twisting motion with her hand, and pulled it away from his chest. Something black erupted from him. Gary screamed. His wife and the two kids ran to the hallway. They saw the mother on the doorstep pull out something like a rope of thick smoky blackness from his chest, twisting it and winding around her wrist, Gary staggering back, howling. The mother kept pulling and winding the blackness around her wrist and arm. Eventually, she stopped. Gary fell backwards, sweat covering his face. But his chest looked unharmed. The mother shook the blackness off her arm. It dissolved into the air. She held out her hand to her son. "Come along, love." She smiled at Gary's wife. "Don't worry, he's fine. He'll be up soon. I think you'll find him much better." They left. Gary's wife and son stood still for a moment. Then they too turned, and went inside to have supper. "Can I have your name and pronouns? It's getting easier to ask every day." "Can I have your name" was always pretty safe, and now you can ask, "Can I have your pronouns," too? At least in the right circles. It's a good start after all. If they're okay with pronouns, then "Can I have your gender" usually works. From here, things get harder. "Can I have your relationship status" is easy to misconstrue, but will usually get an answer. "Can I have your partner" might work too, but "Can I have your children" or "Can I have your siblings" still go badly. "Can I have your triggers" or "Can I have your allergies" are a bit of an own goal, but hey. If they work, they work. Of course, it's all a matter of audience really. "Can I have your job" or "Can I have your marketable skills" wouldn't go down so well here, but at the job fair. You just need to read the room. Actually, you know what's a good plan? Get a debate going. Start an argument, and suddenly people are bending over for, "Can I have your religious beliefs?" or "Can I have your political stances?" It's amazing what people will just hand you if they're angry enough. "Can I have your body" works, technically, but you know. It's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. I could try piece by piece, but "Can I have your skin?" or "Can I have your eyes?" never work. "Can I have your feet?" somehow works less. Personality is hard too. "Can I have your personal failings?" or "Can I have your greatest fears?" just get confused looks, and no one answers, "Can I have your childhood?" Still, it wasn't so long ago that pronouns were off limits too, so hope springs eternal. Actually, if you want to work to make those questions more socially acceptable, then you'll really be doing me a favor. As for me, I take them home with me, all these snippets of personhood. I wear them in the hope this name, this face, this past will make me something that matters. Everyone you see has a history, a personality, whole worlds inside them. Except me. I look in the mirror and there's no one that looks back. But one day I will have a name and pronouns and all the rest, and I will be something beautiful and wonderful and valuable. Or maybe something wretched and worthless and disgusting. I'm not picky, I'd go for either. Better to be something awful than not be anything at all. Oh. I'm sorry. This is all very heavy, and I've just met you. I'll let you go. Well, actually, one last thing. Before you go, I don't suppose I could have your name and pronouns. A husband's tragic decision, driven to despair by denial. My wife kept seeing things. Gruesome things, like my son and daughter's mangled bodies lying on the floor. The first time it happened, I was under the truck changing oil when I heard an ungodly shriek. I almost knocked myself out trying to climb out of there. When I got inside, she was lying on the floor cradling the dog. She squeezed the poor thing so hard, that she broke its neck. She was convinced it was our daughter, Jane. She said she was trying to stop the bleeding. The thought of something happening to Jane freaked me out, and I had to give her a call just to make sure she was okay. I thought talking to her might help my wife, but it only made things worse. She said it couldn't be Jane because Jane was dead and tried to strangle me with the phone wire. Then she started seeing Darren, my son, around the house with his head hanging off. Unlike Jane, he lived close by, so he was able to come over and talk to her. But it didn't do any good, she was too far gone. I tried all kinds of medication, but nothing worked. Eventually, the kids wanted to lock her up in some home, but I couldn't. She wouldn't last in a place like that, and to be honest, I couldn't imagine my life without her. We've been together for almost 40 years. I really believed I could handle things, but she started to become more and more violent. Until one night she attacked our grandchildren with a knife. She said it didn't matter, they were already dead when we asked her why she did it. Even though the wounds were only superficial, Darren demanded she get sent away. I knew I couldn't fight him anymore, so I just asked for one more night to say goodbye. I wanted to make our last night together special, so I recreated our first date. I couldn't take her out for burgers, so I ordered in and made the kitchen up to look like the dinner we went to. Then I set up a projector behind the barn so we could watch a movie in the car, like we were at the drive-thru. I think that must have triggered something in her head because halfway through she turned to me and said, "I know things aren't getting any better, so I want you to help me end it here tonight, while I still have a glimpse of who I used to be." It tore me up inside, but I knew I had to do it, so later that night while she was sleeping, I shot her in the back of the head. Too cowardly to use the gun on myself, I took some of her medication to help steady my nerves. Shortly afterwards, when I saw the bodies, I remembered what I did, and I realized who was really in denial.